going deeper in ourselves and also what's important and meaningful for us. It doesn't always have to be like that we are changing the world. It can also just be that I can see that what I do creates value and how it fits in the bigger picture and how others see that what I do is of value.
Welcome to Workspace Design Lab, the show where architects, interior designers, and workplace leaders explore the future of workspace interiors. Each week, we dive into ergonomic office design, modern workspace trends, and sustainable furniture solutions that improve well-being and performance. I'm Syl Vander Park, and together we'll uncover the stories, strategies, and innovations that help you design offices that truly work. Let's dive in. How do you approach workplace strategy?
For me, like workplace strategy is always starting from the client and the needs.
When does a person approach you? When do they come to you? And then how do you step through a project with them?
So it could be, of course, that there is a lease agreement that is ending or that the workplace is not anymore fitted for the needs, or maybe it's that it's hard to get the employees to want to come to the office, or maybe, and this is also a lot of times, we really don't get the collaboration, the communication, the kind of culture we want to have in the office or the workplace. So it can be different kinds of pains that the organization has and wants to sees that the workplace can actually help with that. And what we always do is to start with analyzing as is through different kind of ways and trying to make it as data-based as possible. Interviewing the leadership team in the strategy phase. Most often I work towards the leadership team. So really understanding how the workplace can support that organization and business strategically for what the organization is aiming for and what's working, what's not working, to do that from a very strategic level. But then, of course, quite often having a survey to get input from employees. And not always asking exactly what do you want, but more looking at the needs and behaviors and tasks and what's working well and not working well and how does the collaboration look like and so on. Of course, looking at the current premises and locations, workplaces, and with our experience, seeing what could be potential or developed further. Quite often also some kind of utilization studies. How are we actually using the space? And all of this then gives us a very good understanding of, okay, this is how it's working today. In that process, in the pre-study needs analysis, we quite often see the potential, but we also look very much in the dialogue with the leadership team. Where is the maturity? Are they also maybe other changes that are going on? So what could be possible right now? So maybe we cannot reach always to the potential that is out there for that organization, but maybe we need to take this first step and then start building from that, starting the journey.
It's really looking at the performance. People are saying, I want my company to perform better. There's something that's holding us back.
Yeah, it's the experience and the performance. I'd say that it's also intertwined together. So when the experience and toolbox is better for the employees, so when they are engaged and empowered, then of course the performance of the organization, the only reason we have a workplace is for the people and for them to be able to perform at their best and do a really good job. So that's of course about the output. But then a workplace also needs to be, cost efficient, sustainable, secure, those other aspects as well,
Right.
and attractive.
And I imagine too, it's a lot about organizing all the elements that goes into running a business to help people, address, okay, is that part looked after? Because I'm just thinking, even just as I look to grow my office here in Virginia, I think, okay, identifying what the biggest pain points are and then gradually attacking them.
Yeah.
And a lot of it can come down to organization.
Maybe you are growing or you are changing or you need to start a new office, or maybe you need to change or develop your culture, leadership, way of working. So that's also something that many times today it's just getting people together, getting that pulse, vibrancy at the office, that communication, collaboration, coming together and working together.
I started working in year 2000, when I graduated. So that's 25 years now. So
Yes.
maybe we're around the same time.
Exactly. Then I also worked 10 years before that in a little bit similar area with not workplace experience, but more from restaurants, conference, events, that kind of thing. But it's the same kind of logic.
Right. You're going to have things like, at least in Canada and the US, there was a bit of an economic issue in the year 2000.
Same in Sweden and Nordics.
Yeah,
definitely.
There was a hit there. And then, of course, 2008, that was the big change. And then then it was like COVID. So then trying to, you've got the generation that's growing up kind of online and now trying to get them back into integrating them into the workforce now. Like an office culture died a little bit with COVID. People started to work from home and they said, okay, we're hiring somebody new, but training them remotely isn't the same as being physically all together. They don't learn the culture of a company and to really be a part of it, like how it was pre-COVID. You come in and you learn either this is for me or this isn't for me, but that's what it is. That's the culture. So what are you seeing right now as kind of the changes? Like what change management are you dealing with the most?
I think you touched in quite many things there because like before what happened during COVID, and I think that in many ways, everything that has happened since COVID, it was just accelerating during COVID. So we were always going in the same direction, thanks to digitalization and other things as well. But then it happened almost overnight. We had to adjust things and learn new things. And one of the very important things that really changed during COVID was also the trust. So we, as an employees, we showed in many ways that we were to be trusted. So we did manage, most of us, our work in a very good way, sometimes even better, doing that from home or other location than the office or normal physical workplace. So that's also then been really hard going back, especially if you try to have a policy or something, and through that try to get people back instead of focusing on what we are going to do together, why we should be at the office and how it can help us to achieve our targets and mission. And you also pointed out culture aspects. So of course we can develop and create culture digitally. Of course it is then also quite often easier to do it physically, especially if you're getting new people to the workplace, younger people, and so on. It's quite often easier to do that introduction and getting people into the culture when you can do it physically.
We were just talking about more of a need to find balance, that there's, the digital world allows us to be more flexible about when we work and taking breaks when you need them. And, I was talking about ergonomics with an ergonomist. They said, for kids, after 30 minutes of learning, they need to get up and run around. And so we have that too, where we need to engage our bodies, and always being at the desk is, can take away from that physical comfort of being able to move around. That's where, the height adjustable desks come in, and kind of trying to make the desks a little bit more ergonomically satisfying for a person working there.
And also flexible activity-based offices, getting the movement, and not just because it's good for us to move and vary, but also because we then meet more people and interact.
Hey, quick pause. Workspace design can feel overwhelming, right? Requirements, considerations, and costs aren't always clear, and sometimes you're left guessing about what to prioritize. At Novalink, we endeavor to help cut through that noise with a product and a process featuring a team that offers experience, knowledge, and step-by-step guidance. It just makes the whole journey easier. If that's the kind of support you're looking for, click the QR code or see the link in the show notes. Now, back to the conversation. I do remember one thing about COVID was that you could line up meetings, you know what I mean? The virtual meetings. So it was like meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting.
Yes. And people still have them, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Back-to-back meetings. That's one of the main problems today, that we have all these meetings that are really not that productive. We must be much more like start to reflect on our meeting cultures and what to attend and not, and to really have agendas. We are quite digital, and I think that we think that we are more than we actually are, because what is important to find is that we don't have to have everything synchronously. So we don't have to have all these meetings. We can find ways to work together, collaborate together without having a meeting when it suits you best, or we can be in documents or work together, and it could be different time zones, but we don't need to have meetings for everything.
I think I want to work with you because this is so interesting. You must have so many different options that you can implement. There's a lot of different ways now to run a business.
No, and of course, even before COVID, we have had these organizations in the different locations in the world, or also fully remote businesses. So it's been possible. And of course, there is no right or wrong. It's just trying to find out what fits your organization and where you are in the journey right now. What do you need so that you can perform and do the things you need to and want to?
Yeah. I always look to how we can raise our children for future work. I mean, it's very hard you can't possibly think about, okay, what's going to happen in the next 10 years? I don't know if you do see trends that are happening, or if you can kind of look into the future and say, oh, this is an emerging workplace scenario that's going to be a reality. I mean, people are talking about AI, but we're not really sure how that's going to really impact us, because you've also got world events that you can't see coming that will impact what our world will look like, what our economy will look like. I thought, okay, you help workers or workplaces to help workers enjoy a sense of purpose, autonomy, mastery, and connectivity. But, when we're looking at kids in school, I always look at this, at what age, how young can we be thinking about how we work, and finding that balance. I think sometimes it's here in this part of the world, it's like, colleges are more vocational. Like you go to college, a community college, to study like something like accounting or something like that. Whereas universities are kind of more your ivory tower, thinking bigger concepts, but it's not necessarily super practical. Is there a practicality that can be taught? How young can you teach that? Like about pursuing your purpose and learning how to achieve balance and be sustainable, and kind of look at life in sustainable terms, rather than saying, okay, I'm just going to let myself burn out. Because I know people, they've been in one industry, like for example, the animation industry. My brother had started in it. He was doing 3D animation and he got burnt out. He just said, okay, that's it. I have to change now. But that industry changed also just because of the business model of it. But avoiding burnout, because I think that's mainly what we need to accomplish, right? We don't want to be going to work just to collect a paycheck, and just kind of mustering through our day. We want to tap into what's in our souls.
I think it's a really good question and discussion. And many of the principles that I have when working with workplace strategy, you can apply them not just in workplaces, you can in your own work life, personal life, in many situations also. And I think one of the basic ones that we are talking about here is also like that we need to be connected with ourselves, first of all. So we can never be too young to be connected with ourselves. And actually, when being very small kids, we are very connected with ourselves. Then we lose a lot about that in school, in all the social contexts, in all the things that we should do and how we should be and so on. But being connected to ourselves, also being connected to others around us, really important. And that's the basics. If we are not connecting to ourselves and to others, we cannot work with direction or change or doing things. So we need to be connected.
Yeah, so more than balance, it's part of it, but the connectivity.
Who am I? What is important to me? And also aligning, hopefully, what is important to me and what is meaningful to me, and being able to develop and also have fun, to be able to align that also with my work or if I'm in school or so.
I looked at, kind of culturally, what is the area kind of thing, and the happy people and kind of more progressive education system and focus on equality. And I don't think probably Swedish and Finnish schools would necessarily come to you because they're already, you're a product of them. So, you've got these ideas. I would think that you're a product of them in terms of being connected to yourself. But I'm just wondering if any schools or universities would say, hey, how do we get our students kind of focused on fulfilling their purpose in life? It's not just about, okay, you've got to read and write and meet all of these kind of global standards and state standards, et cetera, et cetera. But, you've got that, I remember being in school and people talking about the true north. What's your true north? And talking more about that, but finding ways to implement that, like more so in, say, daily teaching or something like that. What was the schooling like for you growing up? Was it very inspirational, or was it kind of more the didactic?
I think like being younger, it was very inspirational. I grew up in this very small village up north by the polar circle with a lot of freedom. Yeah, then I studied in Stockholm, the capital of Sweden. In my work life, I started work very young. When I was 13, I got a lot of trust from very early age. I already had a managerial roles when I was 15, 16. I got freedom to explore a lot of things. I'm very fortunate. It's been a great school. I had really good leaders and people around me. Very lucky. In my organization now, mindfulness is part of our way of working. We start most of our meetings with some kind of mindfulness exercise or breathing exercise or just connecting with ourselves, with each other. And that also makes our meetings much more efficient because we can be present in there. Most of the time we are physically there or like digitally showing up in the meetings, but we are not really there. So there is so much more we can do, but also going deeper in ourselves and also what's important and meaningful for us. And hopefully we can align that with our work in some way, at least, so that it feels meaningful. It doesn't always have to be like that we are changing the world. It can also just be that I can see that what I do creates value and how it fits in the bigger picture and how others see that what I do is of value. So it can also be that kind of things.
Yeah, I really like that a lot. What was the first time when you saw change come, that where you implemented or you helped a company to navigate through a change, a pain point, and it came back and it just demonstrated that your theory or your strategy worked?
I think this is very interesting because at university, I studied business studies, also social psychology, cultural anthropology. Both my bachelor and master's work, it was about change management. I had no idea I was going to work with that later, but so I wasn't somehow interested in that and also did a lot of research. Well, because quite often, the hardest thing is to create change and do change when you don't see that it's like an immediate threat or you really need to do it. you might understand that you need it, but then we are quite used to think and a little bit lazy and comfortable. And yeah, we do it tomorrow, maybe next week or next year or something like that. And then it might be too late. So it's also just how we start to do it. And also when it comes to change, it is so hard to even for us as individuals to do even the easiest change that we know. It's good for us to exercise and eat healthy food. And still, it's so hard to get that into a habit and doing it all the time. And then when we have a change in the workplace, it might be quite often we understand and it seems to be very simple. But for us to then change our behavior, start doing something new, and just as individuals, but then doing that at a collective level, because that's what it's about in the context of a workplace, that we all need to then change our behavior to the new ways of working. And most of the time, we don't put enough change management support in that work. And so a lot of times we don't get the effects. We could have the best physical adjusted workplaces, best technology, everything, but still we don't get the effects that we want to because we're not able to change our leadership and culture way of working and change the behavior.
That's fascinating right there. Because, it's even like, say, so if we put desks in that are height adjustable and you've got different zones that go up and down, so you can get maximum, ergonomic adjustment, physical articulation. But, a lot of times people are still sitting at their desks, so you do need to remind them or something. And sometimes there's timers. I know my Apple Watch tells me, okay, time to get up. And sometimes I listen to it and sometimes I don't. So,
yeah. How can you then help with that? I know that in some cases you can, for example, make sure that you raise up the tables. Maybe the cleaners help you to do that. So when you come into the morning, all the tables are up.
Yes. And I like your idea of you don't need to have synchronous meetings. You can have something maybe that's recorded for later on or something like that. So maybe it's a pop-up that's a video saying, hey, did you know that you can do this with your desk or something, And I like that term, change management support, to help things transition over down the road, help people as intended. Is your family business oriented, or you started working at 13?
No, I'm the only one who has ever studied in university level in my family, so the first one. But everyone is hardworking, but they have no clue of what I'm doing.
But you've married the two because you're hardworking. You saw the examples of hardworking, of hard work.
Did it from the bottom, so that also helps me a lot when working with organizations and leaders, employees, because in most of the cases I've done it myself from the bottom more up, and now advising and helping more, but I have the understanding. And I've also always been very fortunate and worked with very different kinds of organizations and industries, both in the private and public sector. And I love it, the variation and just digging into all those organizations and how can I help them to perform better.
That's lovely. Are you able to kind of articulate what long-term impact you want your work to have? I mean, it's helping companies move through change and workers find fulfillment and companies achieving, what their vision is and all that. Not to say that that's not enough, it is, but is there something in the back of your mind, something, that you say, I'd love to do this,
Yeah, I do all of this for people to really make people thrive, realizing the potential of people. And then I know that we can also realize the potential of organizations and create a lot of value for society and our planet and next generations. I love people. That's why I do it. And I see there is so much potential, untapped potential, and just try to help with that journey.
Yeah, and help everybody to gel. And
yes, there is so much more that all of us can contribute to. And yeah.
You're a good cheerleader.
It's
I
fun.
can see it.
Yeah.
I can see it. Yeah. So for people to work with you, what's the best way for people to reach out to you? Is there a better channel to reach you?
Well, reaching out to me through LinkedIn or so, and mostly based in Sweden, but I also have my most faraway client in Australia since 7-8 years back. And last year I was over half year in Saudi Arabia, helping a bank group there and working a lot with the US and other parts of the world. So it's lovely.
It's interesting that you mentioned Saudi Arabia, because I remember we have projects in Saudi Arabia and they said, Syl Vander, are you coming? And at that time I said, well, I think it was like I could only enter the country escorted by a male.
But that was a long time ago.
That's a long time ago.
Yeah.
So it's not like that anymore. Okay. So things have eased that way. I was going to say, how is it as a woman going over and working in these environments?
It was pretty much exactly the same as in Sweden. Actually, I felt very appreciated because they, precisely like us, want to create great workplaces for their employees so that they can thrive. And they don't always have the knowledge that we have yet. So coming from an engineer perspective, trying then to understand the needs of the people and translating that to the facilities, to the workplaces, to the services. So very eager to learn. And they also want to learn from the best because they want to do it in the best way.
Oh, that's wonderful to hear.
It was such a wonderful experience. And I also felt that I could really bring value and make a difference.
So it's very open-minded then.
I felt it. And it's like, a lot of appreciation. And they try to do exactly what we try to do everywhere to make people thrive. Yeah.
What's your favorite project or what's your favorite story, working with clients?
I have quite many clients that I've been working with so many years, and they become, of course, it's professional, but they also become friends. So that's also lovely. And I enjoy helping and being able to be to service. So I think that's really nice when you have that trust and also have that sustainable relationship and can help not just through a project, but also ongoing, whatever the need is.
Yeah, because yours is, you're there on hand whenever something new comes up, or you can, you're kind of like a doctor,
For some of our clients, I'm a bit of a doctor. And of course, there might be some bigger projects or things that need to be done. But I'm always there.
Yes, I can tell. Now, you were talking about you have a speaking engagement next week in Dubai.
In Dubai.
And then people want to catch up with you. I know you do, you're active with IFMA, the facility managers.
IFMA and the Workplace Evolutionaries, workplace community of IFMA. I'm the global chair of that. So that's also a really good source if you're interested in the topic of workplace, to just visit we.ifma.org. And then you will find me and a lot of my passionate workplace colleagues.
Yeah, that's wonderful. It's been so nice to talk with you and get to know you more and what you do and talk about the workplace design and what it means to you. I love it when we can tap in and I can see you get excited, about what you do. Was there anything else that you would want to add or say?
No. If there is something that someone wants to talk with me, just reach out. We can have a digital coffee.
There you go.
Yeah, the world is today very small. It's just a second away when we have all the digital tools.
It is. I guess I'm probably still adjusting to it, but it makes it more fun. That's for sure. If people are open to it and it doesn't feel so odd that you can meet people, it doesn't, 5 minutes here or 10 minutes there. It doesn't have to be such a big deal. Yeah.
It's wonderful because there are people that you connect with, the part of, soul family everywhere in the world. And now you have the possibility through all the digital tools. You don't have to travel around physically, but you can also just meet people virtually. I have connected conversations or collaborate on things or share things, learn together. It's wonderful.
And then when you get to see people in person, then it's fireworks, right?
That also happens quite often when I'm in a city or somewhere in the world. It's also to just let know that, okay, I'm here and can we have a physical coffee.
Old fashioned.
And that happens to me all the time when I meet people in the trains or flights or when I'm in cities. Also this week in Gothenburg.
Oh, nice.
Gothenburg, and we just had a work dinner. The world is small today.
It is. I'm starting to learn we're all connected. Yeah, all we have to do is just kind of open up to it. Like, I love doing these talks with people and talking about what I do at work and what they do at work. That's exciting to me. So I'll be floating for the rest of the day, kind of, because we had this conversation, we connected. And yeah, that adds value to my life to connect people, just as you say.
Yeah.
Yes.
Important topics. And so you are also then creating a lot of value from it.
Thanks for checking out Workspace Design Lab. If you're an architect, interior designer, or workplace professional looking to stay ahead in ergonomic office design and modern workspace interiors, make sure to follow the show on your favorite podcast platform. For more resources on sustainable office furniture and human-centered workspace design, visit us at novalink.com. Until next time.